Welcome to Purpose Talk with Decembre. We are here once again helping you to discover your purpose. I have the pleasure to be here today with Mr. MPR Riche. Welcome. How are you today?
Welcome. I'm great.
Awesome. This is a very, very, very talented young man that I actually got to hear about you from fellow connections, actually.
Okay.
I heard about you from fellow connections, and I knew you would be the perfect person for us to interview. So tell me a little bit about you. First of all, tell me where you're from.
I'm actually from Detroit, Michigan. I've been in Atlanta for about 8, going on 9 years. And before that, I went to the military. I was in the Army. I was actually airborne. I jumped out of planes. And throughout life, I didn't travel. I lived in Omaha a couple of years, Kalamazoo, and
So Kalamazoo is a real place, huh?
Yeah, it is a real place. Yeah.
I hear Kalamazoo and I'm thinking like the cartoon.
No, it's a real place.
Okay,
yeah.
All right, awesome. So what is it like to live in Kalamazoo?
I was actually young then, so I was only like maybe 7, 8 when I was there. So I don't have too many memories besides like a childhood, and that's like going to the park and doing things of that nature. So it was cool for me when I was young because I didn't really know too much of what was going on, just moving about at that point in my life.
So you got to travel. You've been many places, lived many places. What would you consider your favorite place to live?
My favorite place to live, probably in between Vegas and Miami. Yeah, that's probably the favorite place.
Is that
the weather? The weather is definitely a consideration because I'm from Michigan where it's cold.
Right.
All the time. So you be like, nah, I don't want to deal with that snow for sure.
Okay. All right. Mm-hmm. Yes. I think yesterday it was 84 degrees all day long in Miami. So that makes a big difference. Exactly. When you're in the cold in Atlanta in the rain and it's just 80 and beautiful every day, all day. Gorgeous weather. But you have the tornadoes and the hurricanes, and so that's the downfall. So tell me, what brought you from Detroit to here?
The music. When I came here, the music wasn't as big as they have it now in Detroit. Like it's a whole wave right now in Detroit, but this is like more of the last year and a half, 2 years type of vibe. But when I came to Atlanta, like Atlanta's just the mecca for music. At the end of the day, it's been running the game for at least 2 decades. You know what I'm saying? They've been controlling the main movement of the music. So that's why I chose to come to Atlanta, because it's a great representation for independent artists and people on the come up and people trying to get educated and get into the business or just be an artist, you know, and they have a lot of things to do here for those type of artists where you're coming up and getting introduced to the game. And that's kind of why I chose Atlanta.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So how long have you been into the music industry?
I would say at least 7, 8 years I've been working on this whole projection of coming up and being into it. Because once I started, I just never let up. Like I got straight into the business and started learning and figuring out how to do things and why to do things and who to network with and who to be around. You learn a lot. Like, of course, when I first came into it, I only seen it for the music aspect, the passion part of it. You know, you think about it from an artist, we just create. But within that, me having to learn the business, I understood that the business is 90% of it. The 10% of my creativity of what I was putting everything into was just 10% of what it takes to actually be heard, be seen, be done. You know, everything is post-production and everything's behind the scenes and the stuff that you don't see.
And who you know.
And who you know. And that's basically how you get to see somebody like me or another artist, because somebody's doing everything behind the scenes.
Correct. Mm-hmm. So do you feel like in doing music that you need a manager, or do you feel like you really can navigate and do things on your own? to be a successful artist?
I think the average person needs a manager, but you don't need a manager until you have something to manage too. So you got a lot of people.
Can you say that one more time into the camera? Look directly into the camera and say that one more time.
A lot of people think that they need a manager, but you don't need a manager until you have something to manage.
Very
And
good.
me saying that, I'm just saying a manager's not needed if there is no motion or no ways for you to move or do anything for them to manage. Otherwise, you're looking for an investor and you're not realizing you're not looking for a manager, because you're looking for somebody to take you through ropes and do things for you that you haven't even known to do for yourself. So therefore, you don't really need a manager until you have done certain things and have a certain place in the game to say, okay, let me get help, because you can't do it on your own no more.
Correct.
But for the beginning of most people, there's a lot of stuff you can do independently on your own and figure out. Once you figure out so many things, then you go into the phase of learning that, okay, now I've done and I've hit my ceiling. Everybody has a ceiling.
Correct.
Because it's a business at the end of the day. Once you get to a certain place, you realize, okay, I need help. So now you start looking for help. And now those first managers that you get into is people who may be just like you learning. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You don't go from just getting into the top manager in the game, because they're not your management type of situation either. You need somebody who's willing to learn and grow with you during that time, and you're going to outgrow them eventually, or they're going to outgrow you, and y'all separate and bygones be bygones, and then you go to the next phase. But it's all about having that phase. You got to deal with people in your position, because if you go too high, then they don't know what to do with you. If you go too low, then they don't know what to do with you. So you got to find your happy medium.
Okay. So with that being said, do you feel like you found your happy medium? Do you feel like that you have reached your actual purpose of what it is that you're supposed to be doing?
To be honest, I haven't reached where I'm trying to go, but I have hit happy mediums along the way.
Okay.
It's basically not been about necessarily what I'm doing currently. It's more about the future and where I see myself really being versus where I am now. For where I am now, yes, I have ran into some of the right people and dealt with some of the right people because of relationships, and utilize those relationships for the best of my ability and the best of their ability. But do I think that there is a hierarchy and a higher place to go and deeper things to touch? Yes, because I feel like I'm just beginning. Even though I've been doing it almost 10 years, it still feels like just the beginning, because I keep setting new goals. At one point I had a goal just to put out a mixtape, and then I had another goal to get heard, and then I had another goal to get seen, and I had another goal to sell merch. And you set certain goals to do certain things, and like I've reached all of the goals that I once set, but now I'm setting the bar higher because I want bigger and better things.
So did that come with having a team of different people, or just having one specific team?
My process has been a team of different people. I've dealt with multiple different people simultaneously at the same time, because I may have some people that's doing management in Atlanta, but then when I'm going out in LA, they may not have those connections. So now I need the connections in LA. So I have managers that's out there, and then I have managers that's in Miami. Then I have managers that's in New York, because I'm independent and I don't have somebody that can travel with me on every endeavor, because I'm also spending my own money. When you're independent, you're doing everything on your own. So you kind of use the resources around you to get where you're trying to be. Correct. Versus another person that may be with a label, they may have a PR or somebody who's connected in all of these different cities, that they actually talk to the person that's in LA and they talk to the person that's in New York. But either way, you're doing the same process that I'm doing, except for there's a PR versus me being my own PR type of situation.
Correct. When you spoke about having the difference between a new manager growing and learning with you and an investor,
right?
A lot of these artists of today's world,
right,
they want the manager, but then when they come to the table, they don't have any money, any investment.
Exactly.
They don't have anything. So the managers find themselves booking the flights, paying for the shows, paying for the performances, paying for radio slots. And then when they hit a certain plethora in their career, then they're done. They're done with that manager. And I think that as an artist, I have noticed that in watching and sitting back, looking at the artists, I have noticed that a lot of artists do that. Have you noticed that in the industry as well?
Yes, for sure. And that's why I said that it's a difference from a manager and an artist. And I think that it's both parties have to understand that as well. I think a lot of the time the manager, when an artist comes and they have the talent, they take heed to say, I want to do the investment, but they don't separate the two entities. You have to say, this is why we're doing this as the business for management. This is why we're doing this as the business for investment, because you're managing something is completely different than investing in something. And a lot of times those get mixed together and it's all on one, because the manager is doing the investment as well, which you were speaking on. And like I said, that manager may only be good for this certain situation, and their investment side may only be good for this situation. So you got levels to management, you got levels to investment. So if this manager situation and they have a budget that's 20,000, once their 20,000 run out, now they're looking for something to reinvest or to get some money back or whatever. But you may be at the plateau where you need 30,000 now, or you need 50,000. So now you're trying to go talk to somebody else and deal with somebody else. And that manager feels as if you're slating them out, but you might not be slating them out. You might be just looking for another investor. But now this investor wants to manage you as well. So now you got to make a decision between this manager and this person saying, well, I got to buy you out of this, or I got to do what I got to do to keep going over here. So I think it's that thin line between management and investment that the average artist or the average manager don't separate the two. They try to blend them together. And that's where the fallouts, I think, for most of the part, or the separations and somebody feeling like, oh, this happened versus that happens at, because it's based off of the investment and the management skills. Like if you only manage an independent artist, you don't have the same relationships that someone in the industry has. So you can't help that person no more. So you either A, have to hold on to them and hold them back, or B, let them go and propel themselves and either cut ties or cut losses, or leave it to where your management had ties to them to their next phase, which is appropriate because you should have did the business right, which is paperwork. And if the paperwork is right, then you don't lose. But the reason people lose is because they don't do the paperwork right, or they're doing something wrong. That's the main reason why things like that be like, oh, well, I was managing them and then they left me. If you felt that way, it was only because you didn't do something right, because they can't just leave you if you've done the paperwork.
Correct. Because they will hold some type of title to what they're doing for you, or what they have done for you.
And secure their own bag.
Right. And a lot of artists, a lot of managers don't do that. They just say, oh, okay, we're cool, we can do that. Okay, well, we're about to take a break real quick. Thank you for tuning in to Purpose Talk with Decembre. And we have MPR Richie, and we'll be right back. We have to pay those bills. Thank you for tuning in to Purpose Talk with Decembre. I hope that you are enjoying today's episode. If you would like to be a sponsor or a special guest on my show, please send me an email. The information is on the screen. I hope to hear from you soon on Purpose Talk. And welcome back to Purpose Talk with Decembre. We have a new guest here on stage with us, the beautiful Mrs. Crystal, the Mrs. Riche Rich. Tell me a little bit about you. Tell me about how you two got together, family, marriage, all of the good stuff.
Well, we met back in Detroit. Our families were really close, so we just always been around the same circle. That's really how we met. When I was there, I was always doing hair and working. So I really just transitioned here with him to keep doing the same thing. I am still doing hair. I have did his hair and my hair.
Okay.
And when we moved down here, I mean, we went straight into this whole music industry. We've been at it for about 9 years, 3 years married. I I love it. I can't wait to see where the rest of it goes for us in the future.
So is that how you all met, doing hair? Like, tell me, how did you meet?
Yes, it really is. I've done his mama's hair, his cousin's hair, his auntie's hair, Oh,
wow.
I really, like, hair is really my thing. Like, you can still book me right now. Like, I got appointments available. But, yeah, I was I was doing his, I want to say his cousin's hair. And his aunt was like, hey, come on over. He's in town. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. Like, I don't care, but I knew I cared. And I mean, when I got there, it was just like, hey, how you doing? Hey. And then eventually he was like, you gonna do my hair? He had like a little tiny fro. It's like this big. I'm like, well, I can't do your hair, but we gonna make something work. Okay. And ever since then, it's been working.
All right. So let's talk about the hair right quick while we're on that topic. What is the inspiration behind your hair?
The inspiration behind my hair is the GOAT.
Okay.
I was walking around saying that I was the GOAT, and it was like I kind of got to a point where I think I was overselling it, that I was the GOAT, and I was like, I don't really got to tell people the way I feel. I can show them. So I was like, how do you show somebody that you the GOAT without saying it? And that's what I did.
And
I
that's
put
where
the
your
horns,
name came from.
and I put the horns up, and it was like, now people ask me.
Right.
And now I can tell them, and it's not like I'm bragging about it. I'm just informing you now. So I just changed the narrative, and it was a great marketing tool and ingenious on my end, because the reactions and the engagement that I get based off of it, it's almost 1 in a million. It's like, if you ever seen it, you probably only seen it this one time.
Right.
It's kind of the effect of the McDonald's arches, because you're seeing somebody, and then I'm not in no crowd where people are overtowering me because my hair is sticking up to about 7 foot. So it's like, when I'm standing up in the crowd, you can see me even if you can't see me, you know? So it kind of gave me this big personality. It gave it an opening conversation to where you normally wouldn't approach somebody. Everybody approaches me and asks me, hey, what's up with the hair? Or something. It's a conversational piece. And that's kind of what you need being in entertainment anyway. You need to stick out. You need to be different. What separates you from the rest of everybody? And that's kind of where the inspiration came from.
Okay, so how do we get it to, so I have to ask, how do we get it to stay like this? What are we using? How are we?
Magic.
Tell me how. You did it.
The magic.
The magic. Okay.
The hands. It's in the hand. But no, it's all just wrapped. And then as it got longer, once it got longer, we started having to add a little string to make sure that it doesn't fall, because it gets heavier. But
that was
when it's first done,
is it heavy?
Once it's first done, it just stands up. But in order for it, when the new growth comes in and when it changes from you sleeping on it, it'll start hanging just like anything else, So we kind of keep it in the formation, but it pretty much, when it's done fresh, it sticks to itself. It stays up by itself.
Do you have a hard time sleeping, showering?
I do, not him.
Oh, because you can't get too
close. I be hitting her in the head. She don't know it. Move them horns.
That's what you be yelling. So how many children? You said you have 5 total.
5 total.
What are the age ranges?
11,
10, 5, 4, well, we can say 6, because she's going to be 6 tomorrow.
11, 10.
4, and then 5 months.
Woo, that's a handful.
Who you telling?
And with the career that you both have, that is a handful. Girls, boys, what do we have?
2 boys, 3 girls.
Okay. Yeah. So considering he's in the music industry, do you find it almost impossible to raise so many girls and boys and just in today's world?
No, I mean, I want to say they just as active and everything that they daddy is.
I see him. Right.
It's really all in together. It's not hard for me at all. I mean, I've been raised around a lot of kids anyway.
So tell me, with the music industry, and everything that you have going on and now, and you doing hair, not only for him, but for the auntie, the mommy, the cousins, the friends, the everyone in between, I want you to tell me, what is it that you feel like is your purpose? Do you feel like this is your purpose? The motherhood, the music, the staying and doing hair, or has it all combined into one?
It really all combined into one. I feel like as long as I'm just here to be the backbone, that everything will be great. Because, I mean, he's really going to take the lead and do what he has to do. I'm just here to just be like, all right, everything's great. I'm going to keep care of everything up over here. Because, I mean, he can have kids, but you got to have somebody that you can trust, that you can have your kids with, that you know are still going to raise them the right way and keep them maintained. So it's like I can do that and I can come back and be the wife. So it's like I'm playing a bunch of roles, but I mean, it's kind of like what it was destined to be. Like,
do you take the kids on tour with you?
We sure do. The kids are everywhere. Our kids are homeschooled, so
we definitely take them everywhere.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
Like they come to performance. I just had a performance. They were at the performance. They were on stage. Like I take my kids everywhere because that's just my personality. That's my character that I push off, is that I'm family oriented, and that's how I move. So I don't never put out the perception that that's not the vibe. You know, as long as you put that out, then they respect it. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how I move.
So even with that, I know you do a lot of work with children. Tell me about all of the different things that you're doing with kids and inspiring kids.
Yeah, we go and do different shows at different schools, from elementaries to high schools. Then we also go do career days and different things and talk to the kids and just give them insight on A, business, B, music industry, C, life things. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, my role, I understand the influence, and I understand that these kids is watching what we're doing, and they pay attention and pick up everything like little sponges, you know, and they pay attention to so much that a lot of times we tend to forget that they're listening or that they're watching. But raising kids and being around them all the time, I see it within my kids. So it would kind of be a disservice for me not to give back to other people's kids because I'm in a position to do that. So that's why I kind of chime in with the kids at the schools and different things, from event centers and just different things that I'm always in tune, because I try to keep that relatability.
Okay. So even within doing that, do you assist him with doing the events with the children and going out? And
I make sure I'm handing out stickers, I'm taking pictures, I'm getting some video, I'm getting something, but I'm there.
Yeah, you give out merch, because I heard him say he has merch.
He does have merch. I keep count of it right now. That's about it.
And so is this part of your merchandise?
This is not
No.
particularly mine, but it's one of the business partners that I deal with. And that's kind of their brand. But right now we represent Riche Rich.
Yeah. Right, I saw the double R.
Yeah.
The double R is Richard. So with you doing music, and we recently had the unfortunate passing of Takeoff.
Yes.
And I know that impacted a ton of people all around the world.
Correct.
Did that impact you as well?
Yes. I mean, a lot of this stuff that's been happening has impacted me, because it's not just Takeoff. It's so many. It's PNB, it's Pop Smoke, it's Nipsey, it's one after another type of situation. It's not like back in the day where you heard of one thing happening and then years later you might have heard of something else. It's happening almost every day, or every other day, or every week.
Correct.
However you see it, it's so often that it feels like every day. It's like we never getting to even overcome the last person before we're hearing the next person. Yeah. So it's like it's almost getting washed away. We just talking about this person, and then the next week I'm talking about this person. It's like you're forever mourning about a situation that I think that everybody coming to this for the lifestyle, the fun, the entertainment, the encouragement, the perception that it was when people was coming into it. And now it's kind of turning into something completely different, that it's almost worry on everybody. You know what I'm saying? Because I also talk amongst other peers and other artists and other people that's either A, running in the business, or B, trying to get into the business. And it's like, it's an awkward time just for how the music is going, because it's almost like there's something out for the music,
right?
For hip hop, at least. You know what I'm saying? It's not all music; it's just hip hop.
Do you worry about him when he's out on the road performing?
My anxiety be real high, real high. I mean, just because it's just like some people today they'll love you and tomorrow they won't. So it's just like, let me make sure that I tell them about this friend, that I scope out this friend long enough, that I question that friend, that I tell them about this person, how I feel like the energy was a little off. So I mean, we always have talks about how I feel about who he is amongst. So I feel like he knows how I feel and he knows what to look for, how to move. But even on his own, I mean, he understands how to move in the industry. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, you all are such a beautiful couple.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I love that you are really complement one another. I'm a firm believer in that. You have to complement the other, not just you bringing something to the table or he's bringing something to the table, but as the mother, the wife, still the businesswoman that you are, that you're still backing him and you're supporting him. And that's what is key, that you're supporting him in his purpose.
Yes.
You're supporting him and just building the brand because, ultimately it works for your family. That's right. It works for your family.
No, that's true.
Well, do you have any final thoughts? Where can we get your music from?
My music is on all platforms, anywhere where you can download or listen to music. It's everywhere. It's not nowhere that you can't listen to music. You got all the platforms. I'm everywhere. If you look up MPR Riche, R-I-C-H-E, Rich, R-I-C-H.
Say it to the camera for you.
You will
right
see
into the
it
camera.
on everywhere at MPR Riche, R-I-C-H-E, R-I-C-H, Riche Rich. On social media is at MPR_Riche, R-I-C-H-E_Rich. That's on all social media.
And I know if you go to this page, you're going to see her and you can book her and you can do it all because she would do your hair. Well, thank y'all for tuning in with us. Thank you for tuning in to Purpose Talk with Decembre. And we look forward to talking with you.
Thank you.